stay in that crowd. And so we have a totally different outlook on this. Think of my contributions essentially being a burden on the taxpayer. Nothing has changed. We have dysfunctional things loading the taxpayer today. We have to inform some of us at the end of the war. So I was in Army ROTC in the fall of 1942. So when I turned 18, I immediately signed up. There was a sheet down at the men's gym at the University of California. You can sign up for the Coast Guard, Marines, Army, Navy, a whole smorgasbord of opportunities. You knew your future lay in the military. There was no question about it. I got 18 years old in the fall of 42. So I went home, told my mother I'd signed up for the Army. And she said, the Navy has much better training opportunities. That was a mistake. So I went back. And I still have the form that shows where I crossed out Army and then Navy. So on July 1, 1943, I found myself in the B-12 training program. And my mother was right. All the Army training programs I witnessed went down the tubes. They all ended up in the infantry over in Europe. So being in the engineering program, I was able to finish. And I guess my one claim to fame is that I was one of those who were enlisted men, apprentice seaman for the longest period of time. If you go on leave, you know, say San Francisco, a bunch of servicemen around, they see this guy with the one strike. I just couldn't figure that out. You know, those guys were supposed to be down at boot camp. What's he doing up here? 2 years. And then, of course, in July 1st, 1943, days prior to that, we all pile on a troop train, and I head for New York, as Hank said he did also. And those old trains, there was a troop train, mostly Army guys. You could tell they didn't think much of us Navy guys around there. Open windows, coal-burning train, smoke flowing in those troop cars. It was black. By the time we got to New York.
And a bottle of Southern Comfort.
Excuse me?
I say, and a bottle of Southern Comfort.
Yeah. So in the case of our class, we were half-time at Prairie State and half-time at my kid John Jay at Columbia. I think that might have been unique. The other class might have been different one or the other. But we split it. And the Prairie State was easy to remember. Everything we owned in the world went in this one metal locker. 1906 Springfield bayonet, your clothes, and your towel. Everything you owned was in there. And your wet towel would be covered with cockroaches every morning when you opened that door. And the food typically was not so good. I mean, we had, I don't know, it was lousy food, but then it was most of the time in the Navy. So again, this is after the war. What did they do with guys like us? Well, they assigned us pretty much alphabetically. So all the friends I had from Navy days, I'm a GR at the end of the G's. All my Navy friends are at the beginning of the H's. Heitman, Hatch, S. On and on. Most of them go on. My friend Heitman was here last year. But he lives in New Jersey. Couldn't make it this time. So our first assignment was to pre-commission detail U-class heavy cruisers. CA-122, the Oregon City. Probably none of you ever saw that ship. They were commissioned a short time before they wanted another class. There was one more ship of that class built up in the Boston area. And I can't remember the name of that one. We shook it down, took it down to Guantanamo Bay, had one day ashore at Caminera, down that way, a real hellhole of a place, and then sailed it back. And then got off the ship, and then what do they do with us next? Well, we were assigned to South Boston Navy Yard. Go on now. I don't get the name left for that. Charleston School. And we were put on Heitman and I, another friend because we first of all were assigned to the Manila Bay, which was an escort carrier down out of commission. We would be doing things like driving jeeps with classified material and putting in the incinerator at the dump, because they had time doing that kind of stuff. And then to the Kula Gulf, which was a CBE. Anybody know about a CBE person here, I think? That was the last assignment. And then finally, enough points to get out and go home. And a very different story from Don's. But that was what happened to guys at the tail end of this program. We were the last. Well, I was pretty proud of the incident. Frankly, I thought this guy do a lot of things right. I learned a lot of things I carried in civilian life systems and so forth. And so I stayed in as a reserve. And I can think of three cruises of interest. One on the a heavy cruiser down on Long Beach. We just went out, sailed that around a bit, and came back. All regular crew. We had nothing to do. Any of you remember Bill Regan, first class? I met Bill there. He became a good friend. Bill became a full commander as he went early, first class, like you know. He kept getting all the right promotions. And when I saw this full commander on there, I thought, my God, what did this guy do? You know, anyway, we did become friends. We ran into him. So the next cruise I remember was 2 weeks to Alaska and back on a Fletcher-class destroyer, over and back till the week get over there, day ashore, week back. That was my second cruise. And the last one was up to Seattle. There was a training destroyer off of Treasure Island in San Francisco Bay, and so it was used for training reserves, and so we had an all-reserve crew that took that thing up to Seattle and back. But we had enlisted men, you know, with that one of the Navy there to do all the Navy jobs. So after never having been below the hold in my past, I was the gunnery officer on that trip, so it was a quick learning curve for me. So those were the three interesting active duty assignments. So I ran out of time, unlike some of my friends who were school teachers, for example, kept up and, you know, they got to retirement and became lieutenant commander and so forth. I eventually got overage in rank and realized I had to quit. But I did work at it for a while, staying in the reserve. The closest call I had was in June of 1950. I was in a paid training billet at the Naval Air Station in Alameda. And we met, there were 2 nights that met, Tuesday night and Thursday night. Well, our unit was disbanded. Too many officers, not enough enlisted men, no need for you guys, too much overhead and so forth. So we were, you know, really pushed out of shape about that. The difference between us and the Tuesday night guys was that in 30 days they were on a destroyer heading for Japan. And the rest of us were still so how close I came to the Korean War. So for 6 months afterwards, I looked for that big brown Navy Department envelope in the mail. I knew I was still up there. It never came. I didn't quite know why. Part of it was I had a job in New York, so my records were transferred from the 12th Naval District to the 3rd Naval District. That didn't hurt any either. I was probably in limbo for a while there. So anyway, like I say, I finally, and then I stayed in that reserve a bit longer, and then they came up with a program for what they had, pre-process orders. Maybe many of you had that, stayed in the reserve. But in the next emergency, your orders were already prepared, and you knew exactly where you were going to go. Well, mine was Amphibious Forces San Diego, and I saw myself in the first invasion wave of the next war on the beach. What that was like. So I decided I had a wife and child then, but maybe this really wasn't exactly the thing that a father ought to be doing. So anyway, that was one of the things that triggered me to eventually resign from my commission. Maybe the rest of you probably have that. So that's about the tail end of the experience I have to relate. But it does show the contrast between Don and me, you know, as to at the end of the war how different it was from the kind of duty we got.
Was that about in the 50s when you resigned?
No, I think I'd gotten up probably into the 60s by then.
By then?
Yeah, or 70s. Let's see.
Well, did you make the commander by then?
I retired as a JG. JG.
I would have thought in that length of time you've gotten a few boosts in rank.
Well, I thought getting the JG was pretty good.
I think you're terminal lease.
But the Navy was a good experience.
They were really stingy with promotions.
There's no question about serving in the military. I mean, that's what you did, you know. Pearl Harbor came along and the whole country was pointed in one direction, unified.
when I retired.